What's up, Reefer Revolutionaries? It's 420 in California. This is Reefer Revolution Live.
But I think in terms of marijuana, and legalization, I think that should be a state issue, state by state. I think it's up to the states, yeah. I'm a states person. I think it should be up to the states, absolutely. You know, I know people that are very, very sick, and for whatever reason, the marijuana really helps them.
Good people don't smoke marijuana.
Well, the good people in Colorado and Michigan are fighting for their medicine as Massachusetts rakes in the marijuana money and Ohio patients get gouged. And now the whitey's got his weed. Will the American green rush leave the victims of the racist drug war out of the most lucrative opportunity in U.S. history? Is 2019 the biggest year yet for cannabis, including full federal legalization? Acreage Holdings CEO thinks it might get close to the end zone, but not at the Super Bowl. Surprise! CBS doesn't allow cannabis content. I'm betting Kevin Murphy and John Boehner knew that and saved millions getting everyone to see their commercial. I mean, PSA.
Good people don't smoke marijuana.
Well, the good people over at VTV.
Austin would have dozens to hundreds of seizures every single day. None of the prescriptions would work. One pill almost killed our son.
I've had 3 back surgeries, and I was on opioids for 15 years. It was a very dark, very depressive time in my life.
After my injury, I felt like I couldn't live with the pain, but I couldn't live with this treatment long term. It was unbearable.
I don't have to live like that anymore. Medical cannabis saved Austin's life.
Cannabis has given me my life back.
There are families in other states having to watch their children die.
I want to see my brothers and sisters who sacrificed so much for this country have access to the safest treatment possible. This really is an injustice.
It's not just unfair, it's cruel.
Jennifer.
What's up, Reefer Revolutionaries? It is indeed 420, and indeed this is Reefer Revolution Live. I'm Dave Conan, and this is the show where we spark up, talk about marijuana in the mainstream media, the politics of pot, and cannabis cures, and we've got it all this week, baby! Big news week, and of course, when I say we, I not only mean just every week more and more people jump in the chat early. It's amazing. Coach Chela, of course, is here. Happy Sunday, Chela.
Hey, happy Sunday, Dave. Happy Sunday, everybody. Nice to see everybody in the
Is your
chat.
mic on?
Yeah.
It is? Okay. Just want to make sure. Is it on?
Oh, it's not. Sorry. Nice to see you.
Chela's going to mic up.
Yeah.
We were so early prepared. What's up, everybody? Welcome, everybody in the chat. Holy Cannabis Oil just jumping in. MDN Niles is in there. Bonnie Lee. What's up, Bonnie Lee? Polish Hammer was first in today. Exhausted 11. HWG. Happiness Without Guilt. Good to see you. Haven't seen you for a while, brother. Welcome back to the show. Obi-Wan Cannabinoid. Patreon patron Laura P in the house. There's Morgan Phoenix. We got Small Tubes in there. Another patron, Alan Blasi, an Orion Canna Company new viewer. Welcome, everybody, jumping in. And there's a Jingo 8, my baby. The South, once again, is represented from point to point all across the globe. Are you mic'd up, baby?
I am ready to rock and roll.
That's the
now.
audio I like to see.
Yes,
welcome,
sir.
welcome, everybody.
Hi, everybody. Hi. Dave, you did such a nice job romper-rooming everybody. That's
what
nice.
That's like, right? Romper room. It's the Reefer.
Is.
It's the Reefer room.
It's the Reefer room, everybody. It's awesome.
I see a Jingo 8, my baby.
So
I
nice
see
to
Holy
see
Cannabis Oil. That and what was the other
Yeah.
one I really liked was when I was growing up, like what I was put in front of, eat my Pop-Tarts, was Hobo Kelly. Hobo Kelly, where they marginalized homeless people even in the 60s. And put them on TV to make
you gotta
money.
marginalize the other.
She had some pretty trippy tricks, though, Hobo Kelly, man. It was pretty wild. Very psychedelic. But welcome, everybody.
Trippy.
Welcome to the show. It's been a great week all around. Many different things going on here. We had a great virtual dementia tour this week. We did one. I didn't even mention we were going to talk about that, but there's news about Alzheimer's this week, and we're going to actually talk about it a little bit in the show because
just a little though.
Just a little.
We're going to tease for next week.
We're going to tease for next week because we are going up to Sacramento, and we're going to do a special little preview of that next week because we will be lobbying with the Alzheimer's Association, and we're going to talk about that next week as well as premiere our interview with Dr. Ethan Russo on the subject, which we will be taking up the video with us to Sacramento with regards to cannabis treating Alzheimer's. Because what?
Cannabis helps dementia.
Cannabis helps dementia. Hashtag Cannabis helps dementia.
Yeah.
So welcome everybody. You're pinging now. Chela's pinging.
I pinged.
Everybody's pinging. If you want to ping someone, just use that little ampersand.
Yeah.
I think hashtag works too. I'm not sure. I think
Holy Cannabis Oil was saying that works. No, my ping wasn't working.
What are we smoking? We've got some SFV OG, San Fernando Valley OG, classic strain. We've got and some strawberry, the elusive strawberry cough out here in California. Apparently, it's back in the zone, which is nice. So we're enjoying those terpenes and terpenoid profile of those strains. I want to put it out there to anybody to make an app now. We need an app to where you put in the terpenes, how you want them listed in your profile, how you want them most dominant to them, and then what your ratio of THC to CBD you want. Push a button, and your suggestion of strains closest to would come out with those profiles. So get on that, millennials. That's what we want.
I think that is actually going to happen when people make products, like when that Endocrine Health starts making products. They'll develop the app for it.
Because that looks like what they're doing.
That totally is what
they're doing. But they are at least looking at the terpene profiles as a serious part of that medicine, which is what we learned in cutting that Ethan Russo interview about looking at that. So that's very exciting that now the science, we're moving towards cultivars instead of strains, and we're moving towards, what are they called? Type 2...
Chemovars.
Chemovars and cultivars, folks. Chemovars and cultivars. Get with the new language,
folks. It's super sciencey. Cannabis is all science.
That's right.
No longer indica and sativa.
No more granddaddy purple and green crack.
You guys, I realized I move around a lot.
You do?
I move around a lot.
Oh, since you've been on camera for a year and a half now?
On camera, yeah. I started realizing I move around a lot.
RBU 83145, you're in the house. Where are you, RBU? There you are. Welcome.
So I want to give you my apologies for being such a wiggly person.
Oh, come on. Well, listen.
And I'm going to try to stay still.
We are elevated. The curious cannabis connoisseur says, my weed is going to be a world changer when I make some hybrids to get out there. About 5 to 6 weeks feminizing. 100% will be done. Keep us in the loop. We'd love some seeds.
Yeah, we're all about seeds.
Because we're starting to grow soil out in the yard. I've started my soil factory, my soil forge. I'm going to start a soil forge and build soil.
You got to have a cover.
And I'm building it, baby. I'm building it. We're going to document it once I'm ready to load up my first pile of yard waste to compost. We'll create a video.
The camera.
On the stabilizer,
our stabilizer.
Which thank you to our patrons. We've got new patrons this month, and I'll get our new patron by our first break here. I should have had it up, but we got crunched again. But we have some new patrons. If you want to become a patron, you can do it for as little as $1 a month. That's the lowest they'll let you go. But if you do feel you have the means and you want to support the show and help us take our show on the road and bring new things to the channel and the show every week, feel free, and we are most grateful if you do so.
It's true.
But definitely share this broadcast. That's really what we want. We want to get this show out because, after all, our goal is to educate, mainstream, and normalize cannabis as medicine.
Yes.
Because when you recreate, you medicate.
Yes.
And that cannot be forgotten in this rush, this green rush. And there's a lot being forgotten in this green rush. Not only the patients, but the people, the victims of the racist drug war are also being right now being left in the dust, and we have to do something about it. And that's part of what we're going to talk about.
There's gambling in Casablanca.
No apologies. You're more than a talking head, MDN Niles says.
Aw, thanks.
Thanks, MDM. One of our OG 420. Yes, our goal at Patreon and also at Streamlabs. Links at the top of the channel. I'll drop them in the chat at some point. To get our OG 420, which will be part of our whole growing, our growing here at the channel, as well as growing soil and whatever plants we end up growing in our little indoor tent at some point. So it's going to be a lot of fun to go along this road as we try to educate and then have our blunt commentary on the mainstream media and how legalization, quote, legalization is happening from state to state. And Donald, I got to tell you, if you're a states guy, you might actually get a chance to prove that this year, because that seems to be the overall feeling, is that the States Act might actually get some play, and that he might have a chance to sign that, giving the states opportunity to do what they like and keeping the feds off. That's one of the ways that is the Washington, D.C. is moving forward with legalization. Believer, our first and OG of the OG 420 patrons. Welcome to the show, brother. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome, everybody. We, of course, did see that PSA. That was the first video. We'll show it again in a little bit in the afterburn.
Yeah.
But that was the 1 minute PSA / commercial that was banned from CBS for the Super Bowl next week. We will be doing a Super Bowls show next week because the game is next week, right?
I think it is.
We will definitely show that PSA, and we will enjoy some Super Bowls because we're not big sports people. But the LA Rams, I guess we should be interested, considering we're from Los Angeles.
It's a good reason to boycott football, even if you're not already.
That's right. But Super Bowls is a hashtag, right? The cannabis people are going to boycott the Super Bowl over the banning of that PSA. Now, I'm going to look at this. I have another look at this, and I'm going to get into it a little bit. But let's do our news. Let's just do our news blast. A little headline hash here, guys.
I'll try not to interrupt.
That's all good. It's all your interruptions are always. You can get your toke. Save it for your toke at the end. We'll give you a little 30 seconds to round it all up, all the headlines. You, of course, can follow us on the socials in a couple of locations. We do most of our tweeting over at Twitter, and I'm mostly on Twitter at DC420LA. The show has one also at Reefer Rev Show, and you can find us on all the socials at either D and or both. Follow us at DC420LA and Reefer Rev Show, also over there on Instagram, and you'll see the adventures of Oscar Grumbledore, which he got extra grumpy yesterday.
He did.
And bit his master's face, not Chela's, but mine. Can't tell though, can you? The magic of cannabis and Fico oil.
We smeared some Fico on that and covered it.
I did.
Dave was resistant to it.
He almost ripped my lip off.
Dave was really resistant.
Sure felt like it.
To it. Yeah.
But I never don't put your face too close to a chihuahua. I guess I should know that. And considering his temperament, I should have known that. But we were having such a good time with Jackpot. It was a lot of fun. But we digress. But follow us over there at the socials, at DC420LA and at Reefer Rev Show. And you can also get our take on the week's news in one massive newsletter. We know, of course, Marijuana Moment does his daily. That's awesome, but I just couldn't do it every day. So kudos to him because of Tom Angel over there and Kyle and everybody else over at Marijuana Moment, because I get a lot from there. But I put my newsletter out on Saturdays at 4:20, and it is jam-packed with the week's news that we talk about here on the show every week. So this week, of course, with the help of some strawberry cough, and which is a very nice, I believe, also a sativa, as well as some SFOG today. We are looking at some stories out of the national end. It looks like it's hot and heavy in Washington, D.C., folks. Everybody is moving. The Republicans are moving their bills with research and for the veterans, and the Democrats are moving forward on social justice and getting it off the schedule under their tax and regulate scheme. But it's hot and heavy in Washington. I got my stories out of order. I don't know how that happened.
Go with the flow, babe.
Go with the flow. Go with the flow. Enjoy the show. But this came in late and really is the top story of the week for us.
It's really a good
and
story.
We're going to break it down. In the age of luxury cannabis, it's time to talk about drug war reparations. And it's a really, really in-depth article that looks at the history of the drug war, as well as what's going on now in this rush, this green rush. So we're going to get into that a little bit. as well as talking about what's going on the federal level, this being the big year. We thought 2018 was a big year for cannabis. 2019 apparently is going to be off the hazook, off the hookah, as it were, which is no reference at all, actually. Makes no sense. But why the Politico article? Politico asks why 2019 could be, or actually not even a question, just states why 2019 could be marijuana's biggest year yet. And we're going to take a look at that. We got some videos in the Afterburn that interviews this article's author. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We did talk about the fact that the lawmakers are racing to introduce veterans medical marijuana bills in the new Congress. Those are going to get some play. The States Act is going to get some play. Everybody seems confident about that, too. And this little nugget came up. The Democrats could decriminalize marijuana using Trump shutdown strategy. There was some hyperbolic threats on the floor of Congress about what we could do during what the Democrats could do during a shutdown. And let me just say this. I don't think legalizing cannabis would be anything they would even think of doing and actually getting done. Because if they could actually do it, and then it would be done, and then they'd be in trouble. So, because they're only on board because, it's political season. Meanwhile, let's take a look at those states, Donald. What's going on? Massachusetts rakes in $24 million in the first 2 months in only like 2 stores. And now they've issued all of their retail licenses, and they are going to be up and running fully in the next reporting. So it's off to the races on the East Coast with Massachusetts, New England. Sorry, that's New England. Whereas in Michigan, moving over to the Midwest, we already see some action there. This is a big story for Chela this week, and we're going to talk about it in the first hour. It is a big story. This another lawsuit in Michigan to, guess what? Get it off the Controlled Substances Act of the state. That's a novel idea. That's something we should have done in California and something we're going to think about pushing here. So stay tuned for that. Meanwhile, in Colorado, friend of the show, Alexis Bortel graces the cover, her photo with Dean, her father, there. And but they're not talking about that case or even her condition. They're talking about a Colorado bill, a new one coming through that's going to allow medical marijuana for autism. That, of course, was vetoed by Hickenlooper. And we have the pot governor, Jared Polis. He left the Cannabis Caucus in Washington, but now he's in the governor's house in Colorado. And we're going to see a bill debated and probably passed and signed to allow autism in Colorado. So that's good news. And to back them up, there's a new study out of Israel reported on by Leafly with just that cannabis is, guess what? Helps autism. Helps everything. But we're getting more and more science about all kinds of things, autism being one of them. So there you go. Good news. Meanwhile, California starts its heavy metal testing. And guess what? Found some metal. Not very funny, actually. Not funny at all. We've got lead in the vape carts.
Not a lot.
It's a small kind. But how much lead is enough lead? Flint still doesn't have clean water. And California has lead in their vape carts. At least a small percentage of them. From Chinese carts. That's the problem. Their forges use lead. And all of the carts that are used in this industry, even in legal, not for long. Not for long, thanks to California's very strict. So you know what? You want clean medicine? You want clean cannabis? You're going to get it in California. Washington has lower standards than California with regards to lead. Very small amount are found in these tests so far, but any amount is no good. And 70% of the vape carts used in the industry here in California come from the same vape cart company in China, the number one. So they have to start talking to their suppliers or start using suppliers that don't provide them. Anything purchased in the state of California made after the first of the year should be clean, although they are allowed to use, they are allowed to sell what's left. So look at the manufacturing date.
Only a tiny portion tested positive.
Very, minuscule amount.
And we do have higher standards.
0.1% or 1%. Yeah, and we do have our high standards.
Other
I, for one, I'm kind of glad they're looking for lead. they're going to test this stuff and charge us ridiculous taxes and prices. They should be looking for this stuff. Meanwhile, speaking of ridiculous prices, holy moly, Ohio is getting gouged $500 an ounce for medical cannabis in Ohio. Almost like, I think 40% or more, or even more, I think the percentage over black market prices in Ohio. So that's not good news. In Pennsylvania, however, I guess he's hearing the rumor that cannabis is useful and people want it. So there's going to be a listening tour in Pennsylvania with the lieutenant governor, who is a very interesting character. So that's going to be interesting. We'll watch a 67 county listening tour throughout Pennsylvania. So I bet they're going to hear a lot about opioids and cannabis. And a lot of people are going to tell them that they're using it right now. And they should keep going with legalization and get the plant, free the people in Pennsylvania, where you can't smoke. I don't think you can smoke flower in Pennsylvania, but that might be changing. You can, in Florida, it's changing. That's exciting. Meanwhile, in Tennessee, they're going to be trading in their tobacco for hemp. Looks like we knew that was going to happen. Hemp is, of course, officially legal, sort of, off the Schedule 1 of drugs, off of Controlled Substances Act, and the states are looking at ways to capitalize that since the farmers aren't making money on other things. So that's going to be an exploding industry. And let's get into this topic. CBS has decided to ban that PSA from Acreage Holdings. So we're going to talk about that. So those are the headlines as we get into our hour, but that's the headlines from over at dc420la.com, the headline hash. So go check that out, sign up for the newsletter, and you'll get that in your email every Saturday. Lots of other stories in there. Lots going on. 2019 is going to be the greatest year, the largest, so far, the greatest year so far for cannabis. Chela, what's your toke on the headlines? Or shall we get right into one of the stories?
Let's get into the stories. I'll toke along.
Toke along, as we all will. Toke up, everybody. Spark up.
That Democrat on the floor who was threatening to legalize cannabis is such a doofus. You know, like that's something that Democrats talk about. They don't. Republicans talk about it more than Democrats do. And it's insulting. And when those news people say it also, oh, well, the Democrats have taken over the House, so pot's going to be legal now. This is not a Democrat thing.
We're kind of hoping that, actually. That's what we were counting on. We were warning them that they better do it politically. And obviously all the presidential, except for one, Bloomberg, who was running as a Democrat.
Such a dum-dum.
And is completely out of touch. Almost as much as some other people.
Yeah.
But very typical.
Well, it's very exciting because everybody's starting to run for president now. And 2020 is now, apparently. Excuse me. So we can all be bringing this up over and over and over again to candidates who are hoping to curry our vote, to curry our favor and get us to work for them and donate to them and actually vote for them.
Well, certainly if you're in Pennsylvania, find out where the lieutenant governor is going to be and or know anybody there and let them know.
That's great, a listening tour.
That's how it started in New York. Now this week, New Hampshire said, nah, we'll be a big granite island in the middle of prohibition, in the middle of legal weed. All over the place.
That's crazy.
So they just said, we're gonna pass for now. Vermont, on the other hand, legalized commercial. They were hesitating with that. Now they're jumping into the game with commercial cannabis. New York, of course, is gonna probably be the first one to pop. On
and
this
then they'll
list.
all pop like mushrooms after a rain.
Right. Jersey actually might end up being delayed. That would be interesting.
Believer is saying 2019 equals the year cannabis freedom is returned to us all. Let's hope to us all, actually. Because whitey's getting our weed, or people who look white get our weed, no problem. But it's not just about us, is it?
Well, that does seem to be the way it's shaking out. And we are referring to the Quartz. I read a lot from Quartz.
This is a really good article.
But
it's very long. It's really
comprehensive.
good.
Jenny Evans in Los Angeles.
And they have an excellent map in there.
Try to talk to Jenny.
I would love to have her on the show. That'd be rad.
But it popped out on literally on Saturday morning, and I saw it. It's really a good take on what's happening and how we really can't allow this to happen. They're only 4% ownership already in the cannabis industry, based on surveys. There's no official record keeping, but based on surveys of companies, and it's 4% minority ownership. Women, female ownership dropped after the first year. 9%? It was up. It was up the first year, and the second year it dropped.
It's because money.
A lot of money.
Simple.
A lot of money flowing in. A lot of money flowing in, as evidenced by
and
the
how
players.
much it costs to get going. The regulations, it's a barrier to entry.
Very high barriers to entry, high taxation,
but at least that's the only barrier in that regard. The other barrier that people of color have to hit are the laws that are skewed against them as being those who were targeted in the war on drugs. Mm-hmm. In many, many places, including the hemp bill, they aren't allowed to participate in this new industry. And that's fucked up, you guys.
Even in the hemp industry.
That's fucked up.
Which is completely nonsensical.
Fucked up.
I mean, talk about nonsensical, Bloomberg.
Nah, that's fucked up.
Hey, Real Jingy, welcome. Also, Cannabis Sativa says New Hampshire has the highest consumption of alcohol. True story. I live 8 minutes away from the border.
Oh, poor things.
Well,
I wonder if they're very sick.
I'm sure their opioid problem ain't that great either.
Yeah.
And home grows. They're going after, that's part of this whole. See, here's the thing. Legalization.
Yes.
Everybody, the compassionate capitalist Kevin Murphy over at Acreage Holdings, trying to get cannabis medicine to all of those good folks in his commercial PSA. Very, very shrewd marketing and PR campaign.
Totally shrewd.
CBS is literally prohibition central when it comes to cannabis, or Reefer Madness central. And I'm sure both Kevin Murphy and John Boehner knew that they had a no cannabis commercial, no advertising policy. As I'm sure most of the, I guess maybe they didn't necessarily know. I'm sure most of these channels do. But they'll sell you Budweiser. They'll sell you
because it keeps you sick.
Keep you sick.
And
they'll
if
sell
you're
you,
sick,
then they sell you the drugs for it.
Exactly. If you're sick.
And then they sell you the drug for that drug because you're sick from that drug.
And you have to stay in the shitty job that you hate because you got to keep your insurance.
And then they just, now this article, it gets into Anslinger. It's really a very comprehensive look at the whole thing from beginning to where we are now. And it's like, talk about Prohibition 2.0 and the new Reefer Madness. It's it's going to cause you to go psychotic and kill everyone. That's literally what they said.
That's what Anslinger said.
They hired magazine article writers, newspaper writers to write stories about it. I'm like, sounding very familiar to what's going on right now. As Sam is out of the box saying we have to, it's in the Chronicle this week, buried in the Reefer Madness section, that Sam is out there looking for ways to derail legalization because the horse is out of the burn and the cannabis plant is growing like a weed. Legalization is growing like a weed. The tax and regulate scheme. Now, Chela and I have this debate as to whether HR 420 is the way to go. I don't think it's the right way to go, but I think it's the way it might get past a form of legalization.
I am writing nice notes to Barbara Lee and the whole cannabis caucus. No thanks. No. Stop equating cannabis to alcohol. Stop that. The rest of the bill is great, but no. 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 Sorry. No. It's a medicinal agricultural product, just like Alexis told me that Representative Terry from Tennessee called it. It's a medicinal agricultural product. And if somebody in their little club who happens to be a Republican already is saying that, it's easy to capitalize on that. Start using that language, write all your people. There's my toke.
That's your toke. Very good. Excellent. We can cut that right out. Make that a Chela's toke.
Nice.
And so not only are they reusing the same reefer madness, and of course, also in the article, it reminds us as we fill up a bag with our vaporizer, our airizer EQ, if you hear that sound, of SFOG, I think, SFVOG. The racist end of it was basically that they couldn't, the upshot was they couldn't make being black illegal.
Yeah.
And they couldn't make, what was the other thing?
Being anti-war.
And being anti-war illegal. They couldn't do that. They couldn't lock you up for being anti-war or being black, although they wanted to. Mm-hmm. So they needed to come up with a way to do that.
Yeah.
And that's essentially.
And they knew they were lying.
And they knew it. Yeah. And they knew it. They knew it.
So they criminalized cannabis and heroin and made an excuse to raid, our homes and social halls and gatherings, and it completely fractured the left and decimated brown people. It
destroyed any economic opportunity and crime rates. The overcrowding of prisons immediately jumped the next year.
Agriculture medicine. Thank you for correction.
And now they've got it. They got it on both. The 1% has got it on both ends. Now they're going to profit on this quasi-legal tax and regulate scheme to tax and regulate like alcohol, which is nothing like at all. It's not like anything. It's its own thing. Cannabis is its own plant. It doesn't fit into any category. It is a medicine. It's an intoxicant, although it's not toxic.
If you take enough of it, you'll get intoxicated of a certain part.
We can debate whether full spectrum is safer.
Oh, absolutely.
Than isolated compounds of concentrated THC
yes,
or CBD.
Yes, we could debate that, as long as I get my side.
Oh, go ahead.
No, it's okay.
As long as you get to debate it.
No, as long as I get the right side of the debate.
Oh.
The side that is for the entourage effect and full flower being
right.
a thing.
Oh, I see. In the debate, you don't get well, that'd be interesting. You should debate the other end.
But I know.
But
it
same
makes you grow.
same as debating the tax and regulate like alcohol. But all it's doing is shifting it from the DEA and the CSA, Controlled Substances Act, over to alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. They have guns. They have bulletproof vests. They do raids. They actually were in charge of Prohibition 1.0. So that's all it's doing. It's putting them there now, and they'll have a list of the people who are playing their game, getting licensed, that have the money, and the players are all lining up. All the corporate players are lining up. Big pharma, tobacco, alcohol. They see the $6 billion incursion on their big pharma and on other areas, and they are going to try to put a stake in the small guy as well as people who have been completely devastated by the drug war for the past 40, 30, 40, 50 years.
They're going to keep trying to keep us down. Imagine that. Shocked.
Free the plant, free the people. Liberty, not legalization.
Well,
take it off. And Minnesota is a very interesting debate. Minnesota, in their constitution, it says you can grow and sell anything in your house. It's in their constitution. Go ahead, Jill.
No, that's very interesting. Tie-in. The article. Pop up that article again.
Yeah.
So that people can see it.
So once again, it's in Quartz.
Yeah, and scroll down. It's such a good article. It goes into so many good aspects, and we have a unique opportunity now, you guys. We can continue to write nice notes to our elected officials and let them know that this is what we want for the new emerging industry, that we want opportunities channeled toward those who were systematically targeted by the drug war. That we want, equity. That we want equity. That we want equity in the emerging cannabis industry. Alexis Sportel tweeted out this week that medicinal cannabis is an industry, and cannabis is a plant. Right? And I love that.
That's
I'm
great.
paraphrasing, obviously. Yeah. I'm not looking at her
I don't have that tweet.
But really, just let's keep it together, guys. We are consumers. So when we go to purchase our products, we can certainly ask for that which we wish to see in the world. If you're purchasing,
Well, that's actually one of the things that the article touches on is that as consumers, we have a responsibility
exactly
to ask certain questions,
right,
as to what that company is doing to do some restorative justice, because the point is made in the article that what seems to be happening now is there is a percentage of them, and probably a higher percentage than your typical corporations or new industry, I don't know, maybe not, that are doing this. They are trying to do some restorative action in their company with hiring, and they're putting up billboards, and they are being proactive. Now, there are others who are not, and that's being basically related to or compared to what happened after, World War II, or, when the drug war started. So it was basically, in the early 60s, but it was before that. When redlining was ended, they basically started using marijuana and other drugs, other things they put on that Controlled Substances Act, to go into neighborhoods and arrest people, and keep people out and drive down the economies of these neighborhoods. So, and now basically what we have to prevent is them allowing this to happen so that they can benefit from both ends, where they're making tons of money from these high-end luxury cannabis companies and corporations, where you can go in and it's like an Apple store, and you can buy your cannabis and smoke it all in, out in the world, or go to a cannabis cafe, because those are coming to Boston, West Hollywood.
We're super excited about those, and that's all cool.
Yes, but what's happening is a lot of these companies, and is what this article points out,
yes,
are basically putting their heads in the sand, going, well, we didn't set up the system, but we didn't. It's not our problem. We're trying to do this. We're trying to help out. We're trying to hire people with previous convictions, but it's not our fault. We didn't set up the laws this way, and they're just going to capitalize on it, just like folks did that lived in the segregated neighborhoods and said, hey, I didn't set it up, but here we are. So it has to be proactive, is what I'm saying. Is the industry has to be proactive,
right,
for victims of the drug war and for women, because another story this week, we haven't even talked about that, is the Me Too stuff going on.
Oh, yeah.
That we've known about.
That's not even in the thing.
And
we've known
the
about
article's
it.
in there, but we didn't really get a chance to, we listened to the podcast. It was great. The Roll Up was a great podcast this week, which is the Leafly's podcast, talked about it. And the article, we really didn't even get a chance to get into it.
Let the people know what you're talking about.
Okay, so there's an article in Leafly this week. The article might have been last week, and when the Roll Up podcast was this week. But it's basically that Mark Emery, notable figure in legalization and the cannabis movement in Canada, got a Me Too problem, a big one.
I'm sure he's not alone.
Oh, well, we know he's not alone. The trimming topless, the misogyny, the world, the homophobia.
How it is.
In the traditional market, the unregulated market, and abused market, in this industry, with this plant. But so it's another crazy story. It's not, I don't think it's up there with the R. Kelly stuff, but it's up there, pretty up there. And who knows? Maybe it is.
Pretty shitty.
It's might even fit into the human trafficking
We don't know
category.
all the details.
So,
But it is unfortunate.
So we're gonna, we need to look more into that story. It's a relatively fresh story.
Wait, you didn't tell them who it was?
Mark Emery.
Did you say it?
Yeah,
I
said
missed
it.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I missed it. I was typing.
It's about Mark Emery, who was
Yeah.
a pioneer.
Oh yeah, I heard pioneer.
in cannabis in Canada. And Jody Emery.
Yeah.
We played, she's on top of the lead right now. So it's obviously, Hollywood is not the only place where there's a Me Too.
No, it's all over the place.
It's getting tougher and tougher to be a nice guy.
But there are nice people and good people in the world. For instance, in Colorado, Patches of Hope receives donations from one industry producer, and that's Haley's Hope. So
yeah, there you go. So
they walk the talk. So Haley's Hope is a good person, a good actor in the game. I'm sure Holy Cannabis Oil does good things as well. So yeah, it's something that we as consumers, like for instance, I happen to know that there are a lot of consumers that are not in the regulated market right now because of lots of reasons. So what would draw those consumers to the regulated market? And I would think that, knowing that their money is being spent to do good, that would draw more, latte liberals to the cannabis shop as opposed to calling their guy who'll deliver to their house that they've known for, 10 years, whatever.
Which Instagram doesn't seem to have any hurry in shutting down. They're shutting down. I guess they're shutting down some sites here and there. And
they only shut down the ones that really will rock the status quo. Like that commercial.
Yeah.
You imagine if that commercial had actually aired at the Super Bowl? Holy shit, nobody would be talking about the Super Bowl. No offense to those of you who do watch football, but there would be no talk about anything other than cannabis after that.
Well, I think they ended up knocking it out of the park. They saved millions of dollars.
It's a different sport, though.
It's a different. Yeah, they made the 3-pointer.
They really made a touchdown.
That's another sport too. Shows you how in touch we are with sports. I do predict the Rams will lose, however, and that's just because I know the Rams.
Yeah, well, the Patriots.
From living in Los Angeles.
The Patriots will win at all costs.
Right, exactly. And THC is a performance enhancer. So there you go. But we're getting a little scattered, which happens on this show. Considering how's that bad?
Not that scattered.
No, we're on. We're doing good. Good. I found that article. I wanted to bring it up.
Oh, go ahead. Show the people.
On Leafly. It was from this week. It's Mark Emery's Me Too moment, the dark side of cannabis culture. Should read it. You should read it.
But again, that's more reefer madness because there's way more cool people than there are shitty people. To be quite frank.
Yeah.
And the mainstream media likes to focus on shitty things because they're all about fear.
You're not apologizing for this behavior, or
no, of course not.
Or that because the author of the
but
article,
there are more good people than there are shitty people, like the Gross Sisters, for instance.
Not only is she a journalist, Deidre Olson, who wrote this article,
I believe her 100%. It's horrible what happened.
She was a subject.
Yeah, I know. I 100% believe her. I think it's terrible. I think he should be drummed out of the industry. Get out of here. Sorry, guy. I know you did a lot of good stuff, but nope.
Well, bye, Felicia. As they
say. Bye, Felicia. There's plenty of good people out there.
Let Jody.
Let Jody take the reins and get him out to pasture.
But I guess it's got to be exposed. It's got to be exposed. It's
listen.
These girls are these are kids.
The way that cannabis has been run, with the what did you call them? Smokes models.
Smokes models, yeah. Oh, that's what they're called in the industry. Smokes models.
And the scantily clad, early origination of bud tenders
There
in
is
the early days.
There is a
The sexism.
big association between boobs and buds. Yes, indeed. It's true.
Oh, thank Jinxie. Thank you for doing what you guys do and for multi-streaming so the information is freely available.
We are
That
multi-streaming.
is what we do. We
That's
love
right.
to freely available information like this.
And
My words
Jinxie,
are terrible right now. I'm
we
sorry.
we better get that straightened out. We're going to go lobby Congress in 2 weeks.
Yeah, but I won't be doing this
Not Congress,
while
the
I'm
House.
doing that.
California's Congress. But thank you, Jinxie. Yes, we are restreaming. We do this show every week at 4:20 live here on YouTube, where we engage in the chat. For you folks are watching on other chats.
Yes, Jinxie
Lead us.
was saying that we weren't on DLive chat.
And DLive. Oh, and I haven't been able to get haven't been able to get my DLive chat.
So sorry.
Pop. Oh, there it is, Jinxie. I see you now. I should have been watching DLive. I would have called you out. Thanks for picking us up over there on DLive. Yes, we are restreaming on DLive, Twitch, Facebook, Periscope, and Weed TV, the Cannabis Media Network. But we do most of our chatting here on the YouTube. And I can see Daily Dope shows in the house. Welcome, Daily Dope, doing some great stuff. Looking forward to hearing more about this lawsuit from you, brother.
Oh yeah.
Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. Since you're here,
Since Daily Dope is in the house.
let's chat a little bit.
Brando the Commando does a great show over at the Daily Dope Show on YouTube. Subscribe to his channel and check out his coverage of the drug war. We're talking about that article in Quartz.
Yep, in Quartz.
The Age of Luxury Cannabis.
Really good article.
It's time to talk about Drug War Reparations by Jenny Avens. We think it's a very, very good article. We do have some stuff in the afterburn in the news this week. Good news coming out of Detroit and the drug war. Some wins, some losses. Losses. My words. Listen, as Steve Martin says.
We should play something.
We should. Let's play. You know what? I'm going to play.
Oh, wait. It's too early to play something.
Too early to play anything.
No, it isn't. It's 5:07. It's fine.
Ease and flow, baby. Go with the flow. Go with the flow. Enjoy the show.
Let's play the Michigan lawsuit thing so we can talk to Brando about it.
Okay, yeah, we can do that. We can jump.
We're going to start.
Let's jump out of that.
The Midwest. I'm so sorry. I know it's totally weird.
Yeah, we'll play the Acreage. We have Acreage Holdings, Kevin Murphy, on a video talking about legalization. We'll do that in the afterburn. But since we do want to talk about this case that's happening,
yeah.
We, as you know, we are fans. We are big fans of trying to get cannabis off the schedule.
Yes.
One of drugs in anywhere that it may be.
That's right. Like the federal cannabis lawsuit.
That's right.
With Alexis Bortel and Jager Cocht and
Jose Balan.
Yes.
And Marvin Washington.
Yes.
Who was the lead plaintiff.
Yes.
But there's another lawsuit in town. It's a state level lawsuit.
Yes.
And it's happening in Michigan.
I'm so excited. I want to do it here. I'm so excited. So yeah, it's happening in Michigan. And there's some big players on this ticket of the plaintiffs.
Talk a little bit because I'm still looking for the video.
Yeah,
I'm not
sure.
sure why I don't have
it's NORML and an old 50-year activist and two patients, a doctor doing research on kids and autism. So it's a
multi-plaintiff.
It's a good slate.
It's another multi-plaintiff lawsuit.
Yep.
It's basically using the same line of argument that if here we are, we just legalize it for adult use. We've had medical cannabis here in Michigan. Why is it on the Schedule 1 of drugs? It obviously has medical uses. It's been approved by the state. It should not be on the state's Controlled Substance Act.
Right.
As it is here in California.
And the head of the pharmacy board, who doesn't believe that cannabis is medicine, is also on the Cannabis Commission. But we don't need to get into that.
Brando, I'm sure, has some insight on that one.
I'm sure Brando will go into that when he covers this.
Okay, so
let's show the story.
Let's get our words back.
Yeah.
And listen to these words. This is M Live has this video. This is the lawyer and one of the plaintiffs. As Steve Martin once said, some people have a way with words and some people not have way. So we're going to play this video and get our words back.
Try.
And smoke another bag.
Maybe that'll
help. Here's M Live and the cannabis advocates sue state to deschedule marijuana. It's very exciting.
from, well, it has a lot of history. And a few months ago, we were talking about how absurd it is that Michigan both has marijuana as a Schedule I controlled substance, which theoretically has no medical use, and also we're licensing facilities to sell marijuana as medicine. And we all believe that those two cannot stand together, that they are incompatible. And so here we are today. Mike, you want to talk about this?
It's got a medical, legal identity with huge bureaucracies of the state, supervising and charging a minimum of $66,000 for you to open a dispensary to sell this weed that last year you could have been arrested and sent to prison for by the same people. You know, this whole thing is just totally horseshit, if I could use it.
That's a technical term.
It's hard to even fathom. And yet for 80 years they've been locking people up and taking their possessions and harassing and terrorizing us as citizens because we like to smoke weed. So I'm proud to be part of this effort. I want to be part of every effort to completely remove the police from our lives as regarding to marijuana.
All right.
They got nothing at all to do with marijuana.
Well, in 2018, when the administrative rules were supposed to be implemented to provide a mechanism for people applying to get licenses, the state at the same time acknowledged the principle that Michigan, to avoid a state of emergency so patients couldn't get their marijuana, needed to formulate emergency rules. So, first of all, when the legislature passes law, they acknowledge that the state would be in an emergency if people didn't get marijuana. That is not how you talk about a controlled substance. Secondly, the way that they dealt with it was that they allowed caregivers, who they vilified for the last however many years, to supply these places where patients would get cannabis. This is not a controlled substance. This is not how controlled substances are provided for patients. And as the year went on and they tried to move to their regulated system that's been created, which wasn't working, they had more caregivers, extended the rules, and identified the names of caregivers this last go around that this method of people growing in their basement are going to provide, or wherever are going to provide to be the source for patients. And that's the state of affairs right now in Michigan. This is not a controlled substance. The idea that someone would be growing an opioid Schedule 5 even and bringing it to a pharmacy because they were running low on their meds is the scenario that would have to exist in order for marijuana to remain as a scheduled drug.
So, High Times, A.J. Harrington writing over at High Times Advocates sue Michigan to remove cannabis from controlled substance list. A coalition of activists are trying to remove cannabis from the state's list of controlled substances. So you can get all the details.
It's a really good article. They're doing really good reporting on stuff like this.
Harrington is an excellent reporter.
Yeah. I like that they're putting it in High Times because it makes, you know, regular readers of High Times think about these things.
I would, One Love Organics, marijuana isn't a drug. I would agree that cannabis / marijuana is not a drug. It's a plant. Now, I might argue or debate. One could argue, I'm being very debate divisive. Maybe it's the Lieber in me. But I would maybe argue that THC would be a drug in its isolated form. CBD. It's a plant pharmaceutical, right? I mean, there's a name for it. But those are isolated. You know, I was talking last week about how it seems like whenever we isolate and concentrate something, that's when we get into trouble. Like alcohol, like, you know, heroin, like when, you know, people smoked opium for thousands of years. But when you concentrate it, throw in your veins, you're in trouble. So yeah, I mean, the plant itself, definitely not a drug. It's a medicinal agricultural product. You know, people have been using plants. Humans have been using plants as medicinal products for a lot longer than Big Pharma's been around. And Big Pharma has basically destroyed how we used to live, how we used to protect ourselves, and how we used to make our bodies healthy. And we're getting sicker now at the same time. Gee, I wonder if that has anything to do with it. When, what did I read? I read a meme this week that cannabis was in like 75% of all the drugs that were sold over the counter in the 1800s.
Uh-huh.
Cannabis was in all of the medicine.
Uh-huh.
Cannabis was on the list of everything, like vast majority of stuff they sold to people that you could just walk in and say, give me one of that. Fill me up with a bottle of that.
How did people allow it to be
cocaine too?
Criminalized?
But, that's another story.
How did they say, oh yeah, that's fine, you can take that away from me?
Oh wait, it was a way to lock people up that didn't agree with you.
Oh yeah, that's right. They had to demonize the people first and say that those people were using the stuff, which of course is nicely articulated in that great article that we talked about earlier.
And make up reasons for locking them up.
Exactly.
Reasons to stop them. And this is still, Fernando Castile got killed because the officer was feared for his life.
Yeah.
Because he smelled cannabis in the car.
Yeah.
Didn't realize you had such a reaction to terpenes. When you go to a lavender farm, are you fearful? When you're in a pine at Christmas time, when you go to the Christmas tree lot, do you want to shoot the guy that's selling the tree because of the pine needle in the tree?
So Daily Dope has a nice way in. The activists, John Sinclair, and the weed lawyers that I sometimes throw under the bus. This is the best next step as the ending prohibition fight in Michigan can't seem to get their act together. Mm-hmm. Imagine that. People can't seem to get their act together and work together. Well, yes, I say every possible way. I think this is super inspiring for me, and I'm going to look into how we organize a lawsuit for California. If our legislators don't act, we need to act.
I think that's a great, it's very inspiring.
I've been looking through pictures, you guys, in preparation of our going up to Sacramento to lobby the assembly. Because I'm bringing a binder that I'm working on back there, a binder full of studies that prove that cannabis helps dementia, and people know it, and that we should be using it. And it'd be much easier to figure that out if it were not on the Schedule 1 of drugs. So I'm going to be super specific in my ask. Take it off the Schedule 1 of drugs.
Well, now, see, here won't HR 420, if that passed, it does take it off the Schedule 1 of drugs. And there's no schedule. There's just rules over at the ATF for tobacco.
I will say thanks. I've waited this long. I'm going to wait for it to be in the right place.
Because
We've waited this long.
You're going to get more. You're going to get the research. You're going to get an increase. Certainly a vast increase in research.
ATF. It's not like alcohol.
I know. No, I'm with you on that.
I think it should be under the USDA, just like Alexis says.
I think it's a bad move. I think Blumenauer's I see what he's doing, and I think it's a bad move. And because I don't think it's going to.
I'm going to write them nice notes.
And I'd like to see Barbara Lee's bill. I'd like to see there's supposed to be what's his name? Hakeem. I think I'm not gonna say I don't not follow. I'm starting to follow politics again. Why?
Oh, because they suck you back in. Okay, let's not. No. Do not digress.
We're going to wrap up the show. Let's wrap up the show, shall we?
Okay, yes.
Because we're coming up on our 1 hour, guys. We're coming up on our 1 hour.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Jinxie, new viewer to the show and a member of the D-Live community. Thanks for joining over on D-Live.
Jinxie does some really cool stuff.
Yeah, very cool. Welcome to the show. We're very excited.
Yes,
about new
distribute our
folks.
stuff revolutionarily all over.
Please do. Yeah, we don't make any money on YouTube, but although other people do, because we'll show videos and they'll go, hey, that's ours. And I'm like, well, fine, whatever, dude. Thanks for letting us use it. Get your pennies from YouTube. But they won't let us do it because of the content in general. We can't talk about cannabis and advertise or make money on YouTube. So we do Patreon. We do Streamlabs. If you want to become a monthly supporter, you can do it on Patreon. Be a part of our OG 420 Reefer Revolutionaries. I'll drop that link as soon as we get into the afterburn, as well as the Streamlabs, where you can give a one-time donation or a cute little gift over there to support the show. But certainly, absolutely, go over onto the D-Live if you're interested in the decentralized community and cryptocurrency and ways to get information away from the corporate, because, YouTube could cut us off at any time.
That's right.
Literally. They could just shut us down anytime.
So if we're not here.
Facebook, Periscope, all of these corporate guys, Twitch, maybe not. Twitch seems pretty cool, but they too. But definitely YouTube, Facebook, they could turn us off at any time because of our content, because it's a federal crime, what we're doing. So D-Live has always been my backup, my way to decentralize this broadcast, find a new audience, which is what we're doing, trying to mainstream, normalize, and educate about cannabis as medicine. And when you recreate, you medicate.
Free the plant, free the people.
Free the plant, free the people. Liberty, not legalization.
That's right.
So we try to get these themes and this information, this message out as many platforms as we can. D-Live seems to be a flawless, decentralized live streaming platform. And has always worked for me every week for the most part, even with the changeover to the Lino blockchain. Cool. So there's my D-Line spiel. But we do this show, Reefer Revolution, live every Sunday at 4:20 Pacific. So subscribe, get notifications, ring that bell for when we go live at other times, because you know what? It is politics season. There are debates.
Stuff happening, and everybody's going to be talking about cannabis.
There is stuff happening. So we may go live midweek. Who knows? So whatever platform you're on, subscribe, like, thumbs up, share. Do what you got to do to get this information and this channel out. So thank you all. And thanks everybody in the chat in YouTube, which is we're having a great conversation in there as we roll. Good, very good. As always, guys, I thank you. I thank you for your support. I thank you for joining us every Sunday at 4:20, and we will we will see you next week.
Yep. Free
the plant, free the people. Liberty, not legalization. Yeah. And pot for peace. Totally. No war. Number 10 on deck. Boy.
Stop. Free the plant, free the people.
The murderers keep murdering. The churches keep a-burning. The rapists keep a-raping, and the tide ain't turning. Uncle Sam, for all your power, things get worse every hour. It seems to me your energy's all wasted, chasing my friends and me. So, hey, Uncle Sam, hey there, Uncle Sam, leave us pot smokers alone. Uncle Sam, leave us pot smokers alone. The terrorists keep terrorizing, our leaders keep a-lying, the haters keep a-hating, and the planet's dying. Uncle Sam, do what's proper, call off your dogs and your helicopters. The problems of society were not caused by my friends and me. So hey, Uncle Sam, hey there, Uncle Sam, leave us pot smokers alone. Uncle Sam, leave us pot smokers alone. How many innocent people gonna be imprisoned? We just peace and love and street pop and brotherhood freaks. A touch of Mother Nature never made nobody violent, never made nobody hate, nobody will break nobody's peace. Since we've never been told to be harmful, don't you tell me no lies with your caffeine, codeine, nicotine eyes. The cannabis ban is just recent, just since 1938 to re-legalize it, realize it. You made a big mistake. Hey, Uncle Sam, hey there, Uncle Sam, leave us pot smokers alone. Uncle Sam, leave us pot smokers
This drug is dangerous. You cannot play with it. It's not funny. It's not something to laugh about. Good people don't smoke marijuana.
Smoke weed.